This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome to the Fan Report, show made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and with me, Sanders, going to give us this week's topics.
It's our Pistons preview show. We're going to spend the bulk of it talking Pistons 2021-2022 season, our expectations, predictions, and I guess we'll throw some lines in. It's a Fan Report.
I mean, technically speaking, we are supposed to talk about the Lions. We are. Do I want to talk about the Lions this week? The answer is no. Do they deserve to be talked about this week? The answer is also no.
I mean, most weeks don't deserve to be talked about.
Correct.
Let's be honest. If we were like New York and we had two football teams and then like one of them was actually good, no one would be talking about the Lions ever.
I mean, it would depend on our studio would want. Like, are we a Giants-based podcast or are we a Jets-based podcast? Like, whichever one we're centric on.
What would the second Detroit football team be called?
It would have to be car-related because everything in this town is, I guess,
There's only
not.
one team that's car-related, and it's our basketball team.
I mean, kind of, the Red Wings are kind of sort of car-related because the wheel is in their logo. That means. The wing wheel is in their logo.
I know, but I still don't know like where the name Red Wing comes from.
I've read about it before. I can't really remember it right now, though. But I have read about it. I mean, I guess only one, but sure. Anyways, I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, the engines? I don't know.
the Detroit engines, Motors.
The little engines that could.
Well, let me ask you this. Who owns the team?
Please, dear God, not the Fords. Can you own two NFL teams? Is that
no,
legal?
No, you absolutely cannot. And I'm pretty sure the NFL doesn't even like owners owning teams in other leagues, like owning other sports.
So there goes Gilbert out. There goes the Illiches out. There goes Goris out.
I don't know if it's the NBA or if it's the NFL. I think it's the NFL that has like a rule about sports ownership inside the U.S. and how they don't want you to own more than one team inside the U.S. or something like that. I can't remember. The NFL used to have some rule, and they might still. I don't know.
You know what would be nice?
What?
Calvin and Barry form an ownership group.
They don't have the money.
And they own the team.
You're talking millionaires when we need billionaires.
No, they form an ownership group.
You're talking we need a lot of millionaires then, like tens of thousands.
I just want Calvin and Barry to be the heads of them.
Well, if the Fords did own the new team, it could be called the Mustangs. That would make sense.
The Detroit Mustangs.
It would make sense.
I like that.
But nobody wants another Ford-owned team in this town, let alone the one we have. So that would kill that idea.
I mean, they don't have a copyright on the name Mustang across all industries, right? Like,
no, absolutely not.
A team could be named the Mustangs, not owned by the Fords.
There's Mustangs in college football. There's Mustangs is a thing. It isn't just a car. It's a horse. It's they can't copyright a name of a horse, like a name of an animal.
Yeah. Well, we got off topic extremely quick.
Yeah, that did not take long. It took about less than 4 minutes to get off topic. Sweet. We're on a roll today. Let's just get the Lions out of the way. Just because I want to spend the bulk of today talking about the Pistons and their upcoming season. The season kicks off this week against the Chicago Bulls, who are looking to be a better team this year. They made a lot of trades last season, and then they added some pieces this offseason as well. So they're looking to be a team that could compete in the East. Now, we'll save the rest of that for
I want to start. We get into it now?
No, I want to start with the Lions. I had to stop myself there because I am excited to talk about the Pistons. I'm excited the NBA season's back. And, I'm not going to lie. This period of time in sports is my favorite of the year.
Is it?
Yes, because we have baseball playoffs. Now, mind you, this is required. It is required that the Tigers are a good team because they would still have to be playing. So Tigers would be deep into the playoffs at this point. We have hockey just kicked off, which I don't know if you've caught any of the Wings games to start. Man, is that team fun to watch, and my God, are they chippy, and they really, really, really like to fight. And for some reason, the refs just won't let them.
And defense apparently doesn't exist.
No, defense does not exist with that team. They've definitely struggled with their defense, but I think it's the fact that they're trying out new D pairings. They've got they've got Mo Sider up, who is gonna have some growing pains, and he's with a mentor, Nick Leddy, who's a new piece to the roster. Hronik and DeKaiser really haven't gotten to play a whole lot together over the last few years because DeKaiser's hurt every year. And then they switched, then they split up Mark Stahl and his D pairing partner and Troy Stetcher. So I actually think Stetcher's gone now that I think about it. I don't remember. But so he's with Gus Lindstrom right now. So, I mean, there are some growing pains there. But I will say this, Thomas Grice looked amazing the other night. And this team is not going to get pushed around. I'll say that.
Can you tell how eager we are to talk about the Lions? We're jumping from team to team. Everyone except the Lions.
We're talking about a team we do not even cover on this podcast. Well, don't get me wrong. I would love to do a Wings podcast. I'd love to talk Red Wings, but that's not a team that we cover on this show. Yeah. But I will say, but again, like you have Tigers, Wings, Pistons season starting up. Always love the NBA season. And you also have you're right in the thick of things in the Lions season. So you have potentially all four teams, two of which have the excitement of starting up their seasons. Excuse me, one of which in the midst of their season, and one of which deep into the playoffs. And if they're there, that's obviously very exciting. So you have a lot of excitement going on during this time period. I think it's better than April in my mind.
Really?
Yeah. Granted, April is also a lot of fun as well, but
April you don't have football.
April again, yes, you don't have football.
But yeah, let's get into football. If you end up watching that Lions game on Sunday, I'm sorry. That was pure eye torture. Nick, I want to challenge you to give me some bright spots.
You know, I wish I had the sound effects brought up because I would have played a cricket sound. You want me to be honest? There weren't any. Jack Fox, he's the lone bright spot on this team.
Jack Fox, yeah.
But really, though, like this...
I mean, Derek Barnes played nice.
Derek Barnes did play well. I'll say the younger guys played pretty decently. Like McNeil, I believe, played pretty well. Derek Barnes played pretty well. But Sewell graded out the best player on the offense this week.
That corner we pulled off the practice squad made a couple nice plays. He also got beat a few times, but he made a couple nice plays.
But in terms of bright spots, there weren't many. You know, they're few and far between, and I'd argue that's even giving them a little bit too much credit.
Yeah, I'll be like, so going to this game, like I'd said on this podcast last week that the reason I don't think we're going to win is I do not think our corners, our secondary in general, can keep up with that passing attack. What I did not expect was our offense to be non-existent for almost all four quarters.
11 points, I'd say all four quarters.
Well, it was like literally non-existent for three of them.
Yes, you're correct in that. But I don't even know what to say or where to begin with this team because they're at a point where it's like, what's the point of making a change right now? Like, obviously, there is one thing that desperately needs to be changed with this team, and it's the quarterback position. Jared Goff is terrible. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is terrible. And I understand he doesn't have a plethora of weapons or an arsenal to throw the ball to, but regardless, he couldn't hit it. He couldn't hit the man if he tried. Like he couldn't hit the man if he had great wide receivers.
Exactly.
Like he is terrible.
You could have prime Megatron out there. You still got to give him the ball.
Like, don't get me wrong. I did not have high expectations for Jared Goff coming into the year. I expect him to be a placeholder with a chance to prove some things if he was able to regain the Pro Bowl years he had. With a chance. But my expectations were he was a placeholder for 2 years until they draft their guy or get their guy, whatever. I don't even want him here next year. I don't even want him here tomorrow. This guy sucks. Like...
It actually hurts watching him play football.
It does. Like, it is a 60+ thousand seat stadium. There has got to be somebody in that damn crowd that can throw the ball better than he can. Somebody, anybody.
Let's say there's a reason.
Oh God, what I watched was.
There is a reason we got 2 first-round picks from the Rams along with Jared Goff from Matthew Stafford.
That wasn't just one that wasn't both for Stafford. That was one for Stafford and one for please take Jared Goff. That's what that was.
Yeah, so everyone who is saying that he's a quarterback who's gone to a Super Bowl and thus must be good, they can shove it because
Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Is he a great quarterback? No. I will say I would take Trent Dilfer over Jared Goff, though. Let's play a game. Name quarterbacks that you would take over Jared Goff. All of them.
All of them.
How about this? Quarterbacks you would take Jared Goff over. Crickets. Brock Osweiler, maybe.
I mean, now, maybe like Daniel Jones.
Maybe. At least, I mean, I can't even argue he protects the ball better because the guy's baby hands dropping the ball every 5 seconds.
Yeah. You remember your whole argument about taking a chance at Sam Darnold? He's making, when you compare him with Jared Goff, Sam Darnold looks like a Pro Bowler.
Sam Darnold, at this point, Sam Darnold, the way he's played, if it was in a Lions uniform, he would at the very least make you question if he could be the quarterback of the future. Jared Goff, that question is now sealed, shut, and signed and delivered. He's gone. Like, there is no question anymore with Jared Goff. That one's been answered.
Mm-hmm. It's just like, thank God that we don't have like super talented wide receivers that we're wasting years on by having Jared Goff under center. I mean, it does suck that we're kind of wasting TJ Hawkinson right now.
You're wasting TJ Hawkinson. You're wasting Taylor.
This is the prime reason I didn't draft TJ Hawkinson in fantasy. I was so worried about that offense.
Not wrong. Like, the problem is, and this is the problem that the Lions are going to have, is at this point, looking forward into next year, who are you going to get? Spencer Rattler's about to lose his starting job at Oklahoma. That was a guy you looked at. The only other name you can think of is that Thibodeau kid. That's it. He looks pretty good, I ain't going to lie. But is he the answer to be the quarterback of the future for this team? Because as of right now, you do have the number 1 overall pick.
I mean, there's who's that quarterback that's kind of been getting a lot of attention lately? Malik Willis.
Yeah, but is he the quarterback of the future for this team?
I don't know. He's like a two-level threat, but I don't know. I haven't actually physically watched him play. I just heard his name come up multiple times now. And he's small school in Liberty, so obviously there's already going to be question marks. But
the only guy, honestly, the only guy I really have faith in potentially becoming a good quarterback in the NFL, from what I've seen in college football this year, is Kayvon Thibodeau from Oregon. Yes, there's going to be... What?
He's not a quarterback, though.
Sorry, I'm not... I'm sorry. Sorry. No, Thibodeau, the defensive end, is who I'm thinking of. But, no, the only...
We talked about him a couple weeks ago, how we'd probably take him over any quarterback in the draft at this point.
Right. But then again, looking to next year, what are you doing at quarterback? Because there isn't really a... It
doesn't look... As of right now, it doesn't look like you're taking one this coming season, if I'm being completely honest. And you have Goff under center, and so you might have to just bite the bullet. You got him under contract.
But can you argue playing... I mean, like, Spencer Rattler doesn't look good. Sam Howell doesn't look good. You want to make an argument for the kid from Liberty? Sure. So the answer's obviously not coming from there. You'd think. I mean, unless you take a second-round shot on a guy, then maybe you give him a one-year tryout. But can the Lions afford to go with Jared Goff for another year? Like, can Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes afford that?
Let's be honest. We're not going anywhere the next few years regardless.
Okay, but you got to remember, you at some point have to hold the locker room. Like, you have to maintain the locker room. And I'll tell you right now, the way they look this week, that doesn't tell me that they're going to hold the locker room.
Well,
shit, that team did not come out to play.
Let David Blau start. I don't care. Like, I don't want to just take a quarterback. Just take a quarterback. I gotta have at least some faith.
Honestly, I would at this point. Anybody. I'd be making a call to Cam Newton.
What I'm saying is I'm not passing on Kayvon Thibodeau to take quarterback just because I want to take quarterback.
Absolutely
That's what I'm saying.
not. Like, I am taking Kayvon Thibodeau, but that doesn't mean I'm not taking a quarterback with my second first round pick.
Sure. Okay. I'm okay with that.
Because what I do is if I had the number 1 overall pick, I'd be taking Kayvon Thibodeau, and then later on in the first round, I'd be going after one of the other quarterbacks in this draft. Mm-hmm. And then next year, at the top of the draft where the quarterback class is better, I'd be taking a quarterback. Why? Competition. Mm-hmm. Take 2 shots at it. Mm-hmm. Give yourself the best chance to find your guy. Yeah. I know the argument of why would you take a quarterback when you just took one in the first round the year prior? Well, when you're this bad of a team and the quarterback position is that void of talent, guess what? That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And that starts to beg the question of, how much confidence do you have in Brad Holmes moving forward? And there's a lot of people starting to ask that question.
It's literally his first season. He inherited a dumpster fire.
I understand.
However, I am not calling Brad Holmes into question by any stretch of the imagination.
Can you trust him to recognize the right quarterback in the draft? Jared Goff was his guy. He big time scouted Jared Goff. Like, he was all over Jared Goff and convinced that front office to go get him. Well, look how he turned out. He's garbage. Can you trust Brad Holmes to pick the right quarterback?
Again, I really don't think that trade was about obtaining Jared Goff. I think that trade was about getting draft capital for Stafford, and we managed to get Jared Goff in that deal.
I'm talking with the Ram. He was big in scouting Jared Goff.
My connection cut out, so I only caught the tail end of that.
Oh, okay. I said he was big into scouting Jared Goff, and was a big reason why that front office went after him. Was because Brad Holmes really liked him. And I know a GM's not going to hit on every single pick.
Yeah.
However, when you're talking about an organization that's putting their trust in you to get the franchise QB because you traded the one you had away and rebuild this thing, you kind of got to hit on the quarterback. Like, that's the, numero uno. So the people asking the question of whether or not Brad Holmes is the right guy to be orchestrating this thing, I'm still saying it's too early to fully ask that question and be serious about it. But I am also going to say I understand why you're asking it. And looking at Dan Campbell, honestly,
was he in the Rams organization that took Sam Bradford? And
I don't think so.
What was it, 2009, 2010?
I don't think
2010.
Because I would argue that was another bust too. Because he wasn't good.
He
wasn't good until he got to the Vikings.
Although, a lot of it was injury related, but
the other
he was with the Rams, but he wasn't the director of college scouting until 2013.
Okay. The other big question is Dan Campbell the right guy to lead this team? We saw him last week break down after a tough loss, hoping the team would respond in a big way and come out fired up. Mm-hmm. Quite the opposite happened. Is he starting to lose this locker room? And if he's not now, how many more losses stack up until he does?
I haven't seen, well, unless you want to call how poorly the team played on Sunday as evidence is in the locker room. I haven't seen anything in the media that would indicate he's losing the locker room. However, I don't, for example, his post-game presser this past Sunday, I don't really like the fact that he called out Jared Goff, even though I agree with him. Even though I agree with him, I just don't believe that's something you do publicly, like in the media.
He pulled a Stan Van Gundy.
That's more something you do in the locker room. And
he pulled an SVG, in the locker room, called out the players he thought performed poorly, and how'd that work out for Stan? Terrible team, got fired. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a time and place to do stuff like that, and in the media is not it. Like, I get what he's doing, and I get that he's honest, and I like that he's honest, but you can't throw your quarterback under the bus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like that Sam Van Gundy was honest, but like you said, he can't make the same mistakes that SVG made.
In all reality, Dan Campbell hasn't been the best game management head coach. Mm-hmm. He hasn't. Another fourth down, not converted this week in the second quarter, down 7. Did they have to go for the fourth down call there? No. Would it have been smart for them not to? Potentially. Would it have made a difference in the outcome of the game? No, it wouldn't. No. Regardless, though, those kind of things add up. They do. Mm-hmm. And when you're making poor decision after poor decision because you don't understand the personnel you have on this roster, that starts to speak volumes on who you are as a head coach.
Is it just me, though, or does it feel like this coaching staff in general is taking on the attitude of, it's not like it's not like we have anything to lose this season, so fuck it, let's try it, kind of thing. Like,
if that's the attitude
they've been taking wild risks in some of these games.
Not wrong. And if that's the attitude they have, they don't belong coaching in the NFL, because that means they don't care. That means that they aren't smart enough to understand the personnel that they have. They aren't smart enough to play the game the way it needs to be played to win. Mm-hmm. They're just taking risks for the sake of taking risks, and that's not how it should be done in this league. Sorry, you want to go coach a high school football team and do that? That's a good place for it. Mm-hmm. There's no place for that in this league.
All I know is if I was Dan Campbell, I would have been sitting back and cover all game last week. There's no point in the game where I have less than 3 corners and 2 safeties out on that field.
100% agree. You should be nickel all day against that team.
At least.
Anyways, enough harping on last week. Let's move up to this week. The Lions bring in a little bit of a homecoming. Matthew Stafford and the Rams coming into town. And let me ask you this. How do the fans receive Matthew Stafford? Do they get boos, cheers? What do we hear?
If it were me, I wouldn't be booing. I'd be applauding him. The way I hope this goes is they realize what they lost in Matthew Stafford.
I think they already know. But in all reality, he wasn't winning you games anyways, not with this roster.
But knowing, the way this fan base was towards the end of Matthew Stafford's time here, I do feel like it's going to be a mix. I do think it should be mostly cheers, in my opinion. I do think you're going to hear a mix of cheers and boos.
I think it'll be mostly cheers, a little bit of boos here and there. And I think he hasn't really done himself any favors in that regard with the way he's talked to the media and the way his wife's talked to the media of, oh, I'm just so glad he's having fun again. Like, he hasn't done himself
it wasn't
any
him
favors.
saying that.
He
was
said
Kelly.
some things too. I'm finally playing in meaningful games. Dude,
oh, yeah,
you
there
played
was
3
that.
playoff
Yeah,
games here.
that.
You had a chance to win the division with 4 weeks to go, and you backed into the playoffs by losing all 4. Like, come on. You played in meaningful games here in Detroit. He hasn't done himself any favors. However, I do think it'll be mostly cheers with some boos thrown in as well. And that's, in my opinion, really how it should be. I for the most part, I'm happy for him. I'm happy. Honestly, I'm kind of happy he's gone because it allows this team and organization to turn the page. I don't know what's on the next page, but we weren't doing anything with him anyways. So what was the point to keep it going? Like, we were not going anywhere. We were just doing the same shit over and over again every single year.
It was a mutually beneficial parting of ways. Like, it allows him to get a change of scenery and take another stab at trying to shed some of the labels he's been given, and it allows us to move on.
Exactly.
And rebuild.
Like it was an amicable split, like you said, and I have no issues with it. And I'm glad he's succeeding where he is, because it goes to show that he really was a good quarterback.
That being said, the Lions are 15.5-point dogs to his team on Sunday.
It's a big spread. It's a lot of points for the NFL.
Yeah, the last time I saw that was Jacksonville against, what was it, the Colts?
I think so.
They were laying 16, but
didn't wasn't it close to that game?
No, or one of the Jacksonville Buffalo even, but
Might
no,
have
they won by like 50 points.
Okay. Either way,
you taking the points in this?
I'm not gonna lie to you. 15.5 is intriguing in the NFL.
It's always intriguing in the NFL.
It's intriguing, but because of how big that spread is, I'm just gonna stay away from this game. I don't like a spread that big at all because I hate taking the favorite with that many points out there, and I don't want to take the Lions here because I know the Lions can get blown out. Like, my thought process is 15.5 points is just enough for me to say, okay, the Lions with the emotions behind this game can keep it close enough, but I'm not overly confident they have the talent to make up. You know what I mean? So I'm staying away from it altogether.
Yeah. To be honest with you, if I were to actually bet this game, I'd probably put in a parlay at like -8.5. The odds are -210 there.
Fair.
Just good enough for me to put in a parlay, but
fair. Either way, Rams winning this game.
Oh yeah, this is if you guys thought Cincinnati was ugly.
Now let me ask you this: do we hear? Did you know that Matthew Stafford and Clayton Kershaw were teammates in high school?
I mean, I'm never going to bet against that. It's never a bet I'm going to take to not hear.
Are you going to miss that?
No. Why would I ever?
Because it was funny. It was the one thing you could always count on in a Lions game.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and kick away the Lions and move into the birth of a new NBA season with the Detroit Pistons, our Detroit Pistons here. Lots of excitement going into the year. Now, they kick things off tomorrow, which is Wednesday.
As of when we're recording it, yep, tomorrow. By the time you guys hear this,
yesterday, they will have played the first game. But, so we're not really going to break down the game at all. I don't want to get too much into that. The Bulls are obviously a good team this year, on paper. They made a lot of moves last year, like I said, and they made some more this offseason. Their roster's actually pretty solid, if I remember right.
Yeah, they picked up Lonzo in the offseason. They picked up DeMar DeRozan in the offseason.
Yeah, that's who I was trying to
last year, they traded for Vucevic. So
they've got Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan. They even brought in Alex Caruso.
Oh, yeah.
They've still got P. Will, Kobe White, Tony Bradley, even though Bradley's there.
Tyler Cook, former Piston.
They do have Tyler Cook. You probably won't see him in it. Like, they've got some Derrick Jones Jr.'s on this team. Like, they've got some talent on this roster, without a doubt. That starting rotation is going to be pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Pretty, mean. The Pistons on the other side also look improved going into this year.
Except our biggest improvement won't be playing.
Are you at all surprised by this?
No, I mean, if you had told me this at the start of the preseason when they said Cade has a very mild ankle injury and will miss the first preseason game and then developed into he's probably going to sit the preseason, like at that point in time, I would have been surprised because what it sounded like was they're just going to rest him for the preseason and make sure he's ready to go for the season opener.
Well, that is kind of what they said.
Yeah, but as time went on and they were increasingly non-committal on the timeline, and they wouldn't say whether he's going to play season opener, I'm like, he's probably not playing.
Are you at all worried by it? Are you worried by the fact that he's continuously compared to Grant Hill and already has an ankle injury?
What confuses me is like there's video of him practicing and he looks completely fine. I don't understand how it's bad enough to hold him out of the game, but I'm not a trainer.
So here's my thought process behind it. If this were the NFL, yes, I'd be worried. And the reason I say that is because in a 16 games or 17 game season, every game really matters a lot.
Yeah.
If you're trying to win. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot more, there's a lot more of a reason to get a guy in the lineup. And if he's not able to go, there's a legitimate reason why.
Yeah.
In the NBA, a rookie is not unheard of to sit out a whole goddamn year in his first year. And everything's okay. Because the team
I don't think that happens with Cade, obviously, but...
Right, but the team ain't doing nothing, just punting it along the next year, saving the legs, getting them fully ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, that's not unheard of. Ben Simmons did it. Joel Embiid did it. There's stars in this league who did it. Mm-hmm. But I'm really not even surprised. That's why I'm also not surprised. Because it's an 82-game season. There is plenty of time to get this guy in. They don't want to take any chances. Having him be anything less than 110% going into the game. And I think they even came out and said towards the end of preseason that we want him to have a full week of full practice participation before we even think about getting him in a game.
They said they wanted to string at least a couple practices together, and he did practice, from what I heard, Monday, Tuesday, but partial practice on both days.
They wanted full participation out of him in practice, which that's fine. And you know what? Yeah. I'm okay with it. This team is not looking to win this year. This is a building year, a growing year. Yes, Cade's a big part of that growth, and he needs to be in there to do that, but one game's not going to affect that. Even if it's 2 or 3 games, it's not going to affect that.
Yeah, like my guess is, I think, give him another week.
Yeah, a week is good. Now, if we start kicking in this timeline down to 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, then I'm starting to worry a little bit.
Then I'm wondering, why are you calling it a minor ankle injury? He's missed 2 months now. Like, that's where I start getting worried.
Right. So, Pistons fans, don't panic. I know you wanted to see the Cade Brigade in his first game, the home opener against Chicago Bulls and a division rival. And
does take a lot of the air out of the the fun out of the home opener, though, doesn't it?
It's honestly one of the big reasons I didn't even suggest going to the game because...
Oh, I am going to the game.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Who are you going with?
But I bought tickets like 2 weeks ago, so like...
Oh, all right.
So I didn't know at the time that Kay wasn't going to play.
Fair. So, but either way, like it does take a lot of air out of it, but it's still the start of the year. There's still lots of other things to look at. Yeah. Preseason, I really wasn't like... I mean, there's not a ton to take out of it. You know, it's preseason.
Exactly. It looked a lot... It honestly did look like a lot of more of the same. I think the biggest thing that jumped out at me was Sadiq Bey looking like he was at least trying to score in a lot of different ways and successful for the most part, too. He just looked a lot more assertive out there, which is what I wanted to see from him. So that was like the one big takeaway I had. And it does... At least if preseason's any indication, it at least looks like Frank Jackson's going to kind of continue his shooting like it wasn't an anomaly last season.
That dude can shoot.
That dude can shoot.
Kelly Olynyk can shoot. He's going to piss me off a little bit, but he can shoot. Can't play defense. One thing I will say, and something I noticed over the course of the preseason is I really, 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 really wish Jeremy Grant would just be more aggressive with the ball in his hands. The dude just has to learn. Like, he is a legitimate talent in this league, and there's no question about that anymore. He is a real deal talent, borderline star in this league in terms of talent. And he's electric with the ball in his hands when he wants to be. and he has that ability. I just wish he would be a little bit more selfish with the basketball and be a little bit more aggressive with the ball in his hands. Too many times do I see him just not body his man, take him off the dribble, and take him into the paint and dunk on him. Because when he does it, God, does it look good. And he's capable of doing it almost every play. Now, I'm not saying to do it every play, but I wish he would do it a hell of a lot more than I saw in the preseason. He needs to be confident in his talent and be more aggressive with the ball. Because I do want him to be a primary scorer on this team this year, especially. Allow Cade to ease his way into the scoring on this roster. Because he is the captain. He is the leader of this team. And I want him to continue to show that on the floor as well. And I want him to lead by example by being aggressive, being assertive with the ball in his hands, and making plays for himself, not just his teammates. So that was the one thing I noticed in the preseason that I really want to see Jeremy Grant do more of, is just be more aggressive with the basketball in his hands.
No, I can't disagree with that. And it kind of mirrors what I was saying about Sadiq. Like, those are two wings, and those are the two guys wing forwards. And I feel like they're probably going to be shouldering the offensive load, at least in the starting five. So naturally, you're going to want to see him be more assertive, more aggressive, and just kind of be on the attack. We know they both have the skill set to do it. So absolutely,
no question about it. And Sadiq, again, like you mentioned, I want to see him scoring in different ways, like you said, and he's got the ability to do it, because he's another guy I'm going to look at with the maturity that he has to be a leader on the floor for the young guys. Excuse me, especially because he does have that mentality, that approach to the game. And he is a man amongst boys, and we saw that last year. And this year, I think, is going to prove that even more. So for him to see him continuing to develop his game and expanding his game is something that really I think is very important this year, because he is a corner piece for the future of this franchise.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some predictions. I want to start off with rotations, like lineups rotations. First of all, what in your mind, what's the starting lineup day one, and what do you think the starting lineup is by the end of the season?
So day one, are we including Cade or no?
Well, yeah, let's just for shits and gigs include Cade.
Let's include the lineup on a fully healthy roster.
Yeah.
So point guard is Cade. I think there's no question about it. I think what they want to run is a combo guard situation with Killian Hayes. We saw that in the preseason. We saw that in Summer League. I think they're going to want to continue to run that. Your 3, Sadiq Bey. Your 4, Jeremy Grant. And your 5, Isaiah Stewart. With Olynyk, Frank Jackson, Josh Jackson coming off the bench as your primary guys off the bench. I have no problem with that. Like, to start things off, that's how I think it should be. Like, that's what you are hinging your future on, is that lineup right there.
Yeah. And I actually agree with you for the most part, but I feel like if Summer League is any indication, Killian might be playing more of that traditional point guard role than Cade does in terms of,
fair.
I think he's going to be bringing the ball up more.
It was more of a combo guard for both of them situation.
I want Cade to play the point. I want the ball in his hands as much as possible. I do think that by the end of the season, I actually do think that Cade will be more your traditional point guard. And if Killian isn't able to develop more of an off-ball game, I do think he'll probably lead the second unit, and then they bring in like Josh Jackson to 2, or maybe Frank or someone like that.
I 100% agree with you. In fact, I would probably sit here and wager that by the end of the year, probably even halfway through, because one thing that is a must-have for Killian Hayes this year is he's got to develop that jump shot. He's got to start having it fall, because if he doesn't, he's going to lose his starting job. And even if he does start to develop that jump shot a little bit, if he doesn't, like you said, develop an off-ball game and start meshing with Cade, because there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Cade Cunningham is the point guard of the future of this franchise, and they're going to play like it at throughout this year, and even more so as time goes on.
Yeah.
So Killian Hayes has to develop an off-ball game and has to develop a jump shot. If he can't do one or both of those things, I'm even going to say if he can't do both of those things, he will be moved to the bench. He will come off the second unit and be the point guard off the bench. He'll be the Rajon Rondo of today, or the Lindsey Hunter of yesterday. Like he will be that guy, and he'll be effective at it. No question about it. And like you said, you'll probably see Josh Jackson come up and play the 2, who actually had a really solid preseason. I think it's improved.
That was another guy that improved on some stuff that I was hoping he'd improve on, like court vision, for example.
Court vision, shooting ability, defense. Like he's improved all across the board in my mind. So he's going to be a guy that's going to bid for that number 2 spot throughout the year. Frank Jackson's another guy, even though I would personally like to see Frank Jackson stay off the bench. And don't forget about Hamidou Diallo.
He's a nice microwave piece.
He is.
Off the
and
bench.
Don't forget about Hamidou Diallo. He's another guy who you could argue could make a competition for that 2-guard spot. So I do think it's going to be a 2-man competition for the starting 2 between Diallo and Josh Jackson by the end of the year. And you'll probably see both of them get run at the starting 2 this year.
Yeah. We already started touching on it, though, but I did want to get into kind of our expectations for our returning sophomores. I guess starting with Killian Hayes, where are you expecting him to be this season, kind of over the course of the season? Like, are you expecting that offense again to fully develop, or do you think it's probably still going to take a couple of years?
I think it's still going to take some time. I'm asking for him to have some improvement. Instead of shooting like 4% from 3, I know it's not that bad, but I'd like to see him shooting close to 30% from 3. I'd like to see that shot falling more consistently, able to do things with the ball in his hands that he can, be a threat offensively for more than just passing the ball. Because now,
like at least show me that your work on the jumper, you don't have so much twist in your body when you're shooting. Like at least show me your work on that form. Like. Well,
not even just I'm going to go beyond that.
I'm saying a bare minimum. I'm saying at least show me that you're working on the form.
If that's all that I'm seeing this year and the shot's still not falling, I'm seriously starting to worry at that point. The shot needs to start falling, and I need to see an improvement in the shooting percentages this year. I'm not saying he needs to be shooting 35% from 3 right now, or even by the end of the year, but I need to see him shooting. I need to see an improvement in the shooting numbers by the end of the year.
I personally think the easiest win for Killian in terms of improvement this year, and what I fully expect him to realize is just to limit the turnovers a bit. And we already saw in preseason and in summer league where he does the decision making. Like those one hand skip passes are beautiful, all right, but a lot of times he tries to fit them in too tight of a window and ends up turning the ball over, and it happens more often than you'd like. So just kind of making some better decisions there and don't want to take the risk and limit those turnovers. I think that'd be an easy win for him this season.
And I agree with you there, and that's something that comes with maturity. Like he almost looks like he's trying to be Jason Williams out there sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And I love Killian. I think he's a good point guard. I just don't think he's Jason Williams. There's a reason there's only one white chocolate.
Question: do you prefer the fro or the braids? Because he debuted the braids a few days ago.
I'm a fro guy. You prefer
the curl fro than
I'm a fro guy. I won't.
I think I agree with you. The braids might take some time to get used to.
Yeah.
How about Beef Stew? He debuted a 3-point shot last season.
He did.
How far do you think he takes that this year?
Enough to make teams think about him, and that's all I really can ask of him. Like. Brook Lopez took 3 threes made 3 threes his entire career, and then all of a sudden last year is hitting 3 a game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Beef Stew has to get that far, but if he's hitting, almost 1 a game or 1 to 1.5 a game, that's all I really can ask, because that makes the defense think about it.
Yeah.
That forces him to come up on you.
He shot at 33% last season, taking just about 1 a game. If he can just get up to like 35, 36, that's enough to make a defense think about you.
Taking, you know what? I don't even need to see that shooting percentage change. I want to see
33% taking 2 threes a game instead of 1?
2 a game. Maybe even 3 a game. Make them think you're a threat to shoot and make the 3. That's all I need. Shooting 33% from 3, shooting 3 a game, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make the defense think and respect it. The other thing I need to see from Beef Stew this year is, my God, he needs to put on some weight. Like, I love how we compare him to Ben Wallace in this town because of the amount of bounce and the energy and the athleticism and the height that he has, or lack thereof, at the center position. Like, there are a lot of comparisons there. But he has nowhere near the muscle and body mass that Ben Wallace had. Nobody pushed Big Ben around in the post. I watched in the last preseason game, I watched Drummond push him around quite a bit.
So actually, I was just looking up some weights, and Isaiah Stewart's playing weight, it looks like, is 250 pounds at 6'8". Ben Wallace was at 6'9", 240 pounds, but I gotta believe that was like at 1% body fat.
I was gonna say the amount of muscle mass. Like Isaiah Stewart looks scrawny.
Yeah.
Ben Wallace, it wasn't a damn scrawny thing about that man. He looked big. I'm actually shocked that Isaiah Stewart weighs more.
Yeah, me too. I didn't expect it. I legit thought Ben Wallace was at least 260, 270.
Beef stew, hit the weight room, please.
Yeah.
Like, hit it nonstop, build the muscle mass. Just don't get pushed around in the post because you got to have that muscle mass and that strength to make up for the lack of height.
Yeah, he's already semi-effective in the post just off the energy he plays with. And I think he makes some smart decisions down there as well.
He does.
But I agree. When you just look at when he was guarding Drummond against the Sixers in the preseason, I mean, he made some nice plays, but for the most part, Drummond was just able to put a body on him.
If Drummond if he wasn't absolutely god-awful at basketball, he probably would have had 20 points in the first half.
I'm saying, like, when he goes up against those bigger fives, like an Andre Drummond, but like better than Andre Drummond.
No, well, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
he wasn't god-awful.
Exactly. You're going to have issues. So
yeah, and
we don't really have a body to put there right now in terms of
right, because Olynyk ain't doing
bench.
it.
Yeah.
And in all reality, to think about it, in the league of today, the best players in this league are your big bodies. They're the Joel Embiids, the Nikola Jokic's, the Bam Adebayos.
Yeah.
He's got to be able to defend those guys. And I know some of them, and they all play very differently. Like, Jokic uses his head more than he does his abilities, or more so than his athleticism or strength. But he's got to be able to defend those guys, and being able to not get pushed around in the post. And Embiid's really a big one there. He's got to be able to do that. Yeah. And that's a big one in my mind. If he wants to stay a 5 in this league, he cannot get pushed around down low by some of the better centers in this league. Yeah,
that's where the weakness is, I believe, for Beef Stew, is against some of the bigger, not in terms of height, but just the bigger bodies down low.
And the more talented ones at that.
Yeah.
Too.
And I think it's a big weakness with this team, too, because like I said, we got no one to put in his place when that situation arises.
No Joel Anthony down there to hack up to play hack and shack.
Exactly. And then I guess let's move on to Sadiq real quick. What are you looking for from him?
Leadership. I'm looking for him to take on a major leadership role on this team, continue development with his offensive game and defensive game. But for the most part, I want him to take a leadership role on this team. You know, be that co-captain to Jeremy Grant, because he looks to be that guy that can really set the tone for this team and really set the mood in the locker room and get guys energized and be the admiral on the floor. That's kind of my biggest thing with Sadiq Bey this year, is I want to see leadership continue to progress with him and take control of things.
Yeah. I'll be honest, though. I do want, like, K to be the vocal leader, but I think he has to earn the stripes a bit before he can be in that position. But in the meantime, but it's never bad to have more than one guy with leadership qualities on this team. And I think the other thing with Sadiq is it goes back to what we were just saying a few minutes ago here, and finding different ways to score, being more assertive on the court. Don't be content just being a 3-and-D guy. Add those different aspects to your offense, which it looks like we're seeing. All right, moving on. I want to know from you, because I think this is the big question for everyone this season. What are your expectations for Cade Cunningham?
You know, I've mentioned it. Like, I don't expect him to be this otherworldly superstar, but I do expect him to be in the Rookie of the Year race, if not leading it most of the year. I'd like to see him being around that 15 to 18 points per game range, around 6 assists, 2 to 4 rebounds, somewhere in that range. And that'll tell me that, okay, this guy is as advertised. That's the game we drafted him to play on this team, and that's what we need him to be, and that tells me that's who he is. And I want to see him keep the turnovers down. You know, I know rookies turn the ball over a lot, especially when they're asked to control the basketball often. But I want to see him show me that he has this mind that he's been touted to have.
Yeah. So, and a lot of that's going to come with limited turnovers, which we saw quite a bit of that in the summer league. As much of that as we can attribute to Tyler Cook, we can't do it for all of it. No. But I think you're spot on in terms.
He's got to pass a catchable ball.
Yeah.
You know, I'm stealing a football term, but he's got to throw a catchable ball.
But I think you're spot on with the with the averages you threw out there. Like in my mind, I see him right around like 15, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, like somewhere right around there, which kind of falls right in line with what you were saying. So I do agree there. I don't expect it right away, but I do expect him to be the focal leader of the starting five, at least in the second half of the season. Because he just feel like, I know he's got to earn his stripes, and he's even said it himself that he isn't quite feel the position yet to take a leadership role because he hasn't even played a game. But I do feel like he just oozes leadership qualities whenever he's on the court. So I do expect it to just naturally come out of him.
You're not wrong. Like I do think leadership obviously is a big time quality of his, and I do want to see it this year. And I still expect to see Saddiq Bey be the leader in this locker room, especially for the young guys, and Jeremy Grant being that captain and being the veteran leader. But with the youth leadership, I do see it being Saddiq Bey. But on the floor, at some point in this year, we're going to see Cade Cunningham kind of take the reins on the floor. You know, on the bench, Saddiq will be shouting, yelling, and directing traffic, or in the locker room, Sadiq's going to rally this team, and they're going to rally around Saddiq. But on the floor, Cade is probably going to be calling the shots and running the game through him. Yeah. And that is how Cade plays the game. That is how he played it at Okie State. That's how he's going to play it in the NBA. And if he doesn't, well, then we have to ask some questions of who this guy really is.
Yeah.
But that tells you right there that this is who we expect him to be. We expect him to be the field general on the floor general. And that's what I want. And I don't expect to see it right away, but I do expect to see it throughout the year. And even if I only see it inconsistently, glimpses of it, I know it's at least there. And I expect to see more of it next year.
And I think the other thing I'm excited about, and we did catch a glimpse of this in the in Summer League, where it felt like when he and Killian were on the court together, he kind of elevated Killian's game, not just vocally, just leading by example almost on the court.
If only he could get Will that shot into the net.
Exactly, right? But so I'm kind of hoping that playing alongside Cade elevates Killian's game. Let's go into some more fun stuff here. Who leads the team in scoring?
Jeremy Grant.
I think the most likely answer is Jeremy Grant, but I also just want to caution, don't rule out Saddiq. I think Saddiq could come in.
I think it's going to be pretty clearly Jeremy Grant. I think some nights Saddiq will be the leading guy. I think most nights it'll be Jeremy Grant and he'll lead the team in the end. Like I expect to see Jeremy Grant put up like 22 a game, 23
Does feel like a preseason indication.
Preseason is never an indication to me.
I know. I'm just saying it looks like Saddiq is going to try to score 20 a night at least.
That's fine.
Like he looked like he was gunning for those points.
I expect to see Jeremy Grant somewhere around 22 to 24. I expect to see Saddiq somewhere around 17 to 20.
Who's the assist leader?
If he can stay healthy, I'm going to stick with Killian.
Ooh, okay.
I think
is
Killian
that more because
Cade, I think Killian and Cade will flirt with each other and they'll be right near each other, but I think Killian will just edge him out.
I'll go Cade, but I can definitely see Killian.
I think it has more to do with the
role you expect Killian to take earlier on in the season versus Cade.
And the lack of ability to develop a reliable shot with Killian that kind of forces their hand in games to have Killian run the offense as opposed to Cade.
I see that.
That's what I think it's going to lead it to be. Next year, if you ask me this question, like if we're even just talking second half of the season, Cade's going to lead this team in assists. But I think throughout the course of a year, I think Killian will just have the edge over Cade.
Is it a disappointment if anybody other than Isaiah Stewart leads his team in rebounds?
Yes. God, yes. I'll have to ask what happened to Beef Stew. Is he okay?
All right, my last question for you. Over under 25.5 wins.
Over. I'm seeing this team, honestly, if you asked me 29.5 wins, I'd still say over. Like, I honestly believe this team's a 30-win team, 30-plus win team this year.
Yeah, and the reason I don't think it's going to happen, I've been saying I think the absolute ceiling for this team is being like a 10th seed in the play-in tournament.
Right around that 38-40 wins?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna get there because I think they're too inexperienced to pull out that many wins.
I also think the East is just becoming too deep.
East is becoming pretty deep.
Like you think about teams in the East, you got Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Chicago's a team that's going to flirt with it. Miami's a team that's going to be up there. New York, Atlanta, Philly, Boston. Like, what's that? Am I at 8 yet? Like, there's still there's still some teams that can compete out there.
Yeah.
Sure. Orlando's going to suck. Like, they're bad. No question about it.
But, yeah, I don't think there's enough sucky teams in the East for us to just kind of
Toronto.
waltz into it. So, all right, this is what I want to close it out with. James Edwards, The Athletic, he put out an article of just 10 predictions for the 2021-22 season. Some of these are bolder than others, looks like. Off the bat, I can see the first one we already discussed, so I'll skip it. But I want to do a buy-sell on these. Just a quick rapid-fire buy-sell. And if there's anything we already discussed, I'll just skip it. Here's one. Frank Jackson will be in discussion for Sixth Man of the Year. Buy or sell?
Sell. I think there's just too many good 6 men in this league. And Frank, I like Frank a lot, but he's also very streaky. And streaky doesn't always lend itself to be a 6 man of the year. Plus, in all reality, to be a 6 man of the year, you got to give more than just scoring. And he really doesn't.
I think I'll agree with you there. I think he'll be a very effective 6 man, but I think 6 man a year is a long shot. Pistons have a bottom 10 offense.
I'm going to sell, but just barely. Like, just barely. Like, we're talking 11th.
The 11th worst offense in the league.
Yes. I mean, just outside it.
They did improve on their 3-point shooting in terms of getting shooters on the team.
Kelly Olynyk will be an offensive bonus over Mason Plumlee. I think that the development of guys like Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Stewart will be a bonus. Cade Cunningham will be a bonus. Frank Jackson continuing to get better will be a bonus. Josh Jackson's revamped game will be a bonus. Hamidou Diallo's revamped game will be a bonus. Like, there's indicators tell me this team will be a better offensive team than they were last year.
You don't have many guys that are capable of attacking the rim outside of Jeremy Grant, and you're hoping Sadiq Bey can add that to his arsenal this season. But
you're not wrong.
And also, I think we do have to take into account that we have a combined 30 NBA games between our 2 starting guards.
Fair.
So
I still think talent-wise, this team can be just outside the top 10.
No, I agree with you. I was just saying, I was trying to make the argument to why one would consider bottom 10.
It's a fair argument.
But I agree with you. Pistons will finish middle of the pack defensively. Buy or sell?
Buy.
I agree.
I don't think this team's a great defensive team. I don't think they're terrible.
This is an easy one, I think.
Yeah.
We already touched on that. Oh, we did not touch on that. Sorry. Cade Cunningham will lead all rookies in assists per game.
Ooh. Oh, God. You're going to have to... Who do we got out there that would compete? Jalen Green? No, he'll beat Jalen Green.
Suggs, maybe Scotty Barnes.
Maybe Scotty Barnes. If he's not the guy, he'll be in the top 3 to 5. He'll be in the top 3.
Yeah,
so.
I do think his 2 main points of competition would be Barnes and Suggs. Maybe Josh Giddey too. I think you could throw Josh Giddey in there.
You know what? I'll buy it.
I think I'll buy it too.
It's not Pistons a confident buy, but I'm going to have some confidence in my boy Cade.
Pistons won't make a single trade before the deadline.
Won't make a single trade?
Will not make.
I'm going to sell that.
Trade.
I think this team is still looking to make some moves. They've got some pieces on this team that Troy Weaver may not think are a part of the future of this franchise. And he'll have a better, there's some question marks with some of the guys on the team still, and he'll have a better indicator of whether or not they're part of the future by the deadline. I still think the Pistons, I think they'll make a trade at the deadline.
Who would it be?
I mean, you could look at guys like Josh Jackson. You could look at guys like Hamidou Diallo. You could look at Kelly Olynyk. I mean, I know it's unpopular, but it's been thrown around. Jeremy Grant, potentially. Granted, I don't think that's an option.
I don't think it happens, but
Frank Jackson,
I have heard it thrown around.
I think is a guy that will draw some interest with his 3-point shooting, and there may be an offer too good to turn up. I mean, there's guys.
Do you think they trade for Ben Simmons?
No. I don't want Ben Simmons at all.
God, I think of Ben Simmons, Killian Hayes backcourt would be a nightmare.
Yes, there's absolute devoid of shooting. Like, don't even cover the perimeter. Don't even cover those guys.
We're gonna play a 0-5 defense.
Just sit on Jeremy Grant, Isaiah Stewart, and Sadiq Bey. That's all you got to do. But no, I do think the Pistons will make a deadline deal.
I'm just going to go off Troy Weaver's history, and I'm not going to bet against history and say, yeah, we have not seen Troy Weaver not make a deal yet. So
exactly.
Detroit won't make the playoffs.
Won't? Now, are we counting the play-in? as the playoffs because I don't think the NBA officially counts the play-in as the playoffs.
I'm trying to see what he counts as the playoffs.
I think you have to technically make it past the play-in to be considered a playoff team in the NBA.
So he says the top 7 seeds from last season are as good or better. Bulls got better, so that's 8. Wizards got better, that's 9. Pacers got better, that's 10. Don't think the Raptors will be as bad. Hornets will be good and fun. So yeah, it sounds like he's including the play-in game.
I'm still going to say, no, they will not make the playoffs.
I think I'll agree because I said that was the absolute ceiling.
Yeah.
So I can't just stake my claim and they're going to hit their absolute ceiling. So yeah, I'll buy that they're not going to make the playoffs. Isaiah Stewart will shoot above 35% from 3.
I'm going to sell that. I that would be wonderful. And I do a 2%
bump.
I do a little happy dance. I just don't think it's realistic. I still see him shooting around the 30 to 33% from 3. I just, like I said, all I want to see is him to shoot more from out there. That's all. I don't even need to see a bump. Just shoot more.
I'll buy it. It's a 2% bump. He had a whole offseason working on a 3-point shot. I think he can do it.
God, if he does it, I'll be ecstatic. If he does it and takes an average of 3 a game, I might jump for joy. I'll do a happy dance.
All right, last 2 here. Kale Ninick will average, this is awfully specific, will average the 3rd most assists on the team. So I think he's saying outside of Cade and Killian, your biggest assist guy is Kelly O.
Well, I think he's basing that off the fact that it was Mason Plumlee last year, I believe. That was 3rd most on the team. You know what? I'll buy that. Olynyk's a little crafty with the basketball.
What do you do? He averaged a decent amount of assists with the Rockets last season, didn't he?
You know what? I'll pull it up.
Because if he's doing what I think he did, I think I want to buy that.
Last year with the Rockets. Yeah.
So I think I'll buy that.
I'll buy that.
All right. Oh, this is a fun one. Here we go. Last buy or sell. Saddiq Bey will have a 40-point game.
I'm going to sell that.
I'm buying the hell out of it.
As much as I would love to see it, and I think I'll say this, he has at least 2 35-point games. I don't know if he's going to hit that 40 mark, though. I'd love to see it.
So, Bey, he had
a lot, man. Reserve
he had
for
a
only
7
greats in the game.
He had a 7-3 game last season. He had a bunch of 6 3-point games. I'm going off what James Edwards says. So is it out of the realm possibility to imagine he has a 10-3 game this year?
I don't see it happening. Like I said, 40 points is a feat that is done by only the greats of the game right now. The LeBrons, the Stephs, the Clays, the Jimmy Butlers, the Joel Embiids. Like, there's not many.
Now you got me wondering who had 40-point games last season.
Like, you may have one outlier. I don't. Yeah. I would rather bet against it happening. I don't bet with the outlier very often. Let's just go with that. So to give you an idea of who led the team in assists last year, Corey Joseph averaged 5.5, but he only played 19 games. Killian averaged 5.3, but he only played 26 games. DeLon Wright averaged 5, but played 36 games. Derrick Rose 4.2, but he played 15. Blake Griffin 3.9. Is this the right year? Yeah, 3.9, but he only played 20. Dennis Smith 3.7, but he only played 20. Saban Lee 3.6, and he played 48. Mason Plumlee 3.6, and he played 56. So, like, it was a very mixed bag of who was controlling the point and who was the assist guy last year.
Yeah, no, that's true. But, I mean, who would you put above Olynyk then?
Nobody. That's. I mean, you could argue Saban Lee. You could honestly argue Corey Joseph.
I generally don't think Saban Lee's going to get enough minutes to do it.
I don't think he will either. But does Corey Joseph? Because technically speaking,
I don't think he does either.
He did.
I don't think he does.
I hope not. Because if he did, I'll be pissed. You asked the question last week of name a guy in the team who could piss you off. Corey Joseph's that guy. He is that guy.
Because it was like I said, I can just see him being the guy that just takes minutes away from Cade and Killian and just annoying me.
Yep.
I cannot find a list, by the way. So
players who put up 40.
Yeah, but anyway, in order to avoid having dead air on this podcast, that's all I have for today.
That's all I got too. Obviously, we're very excited about the Pistons season. It's a big one. It's the beginning of the future for this organization, for this team, and for the fans of Pistons fans everywhere. We have a bona fide star in Jeremy Grant, a potential future star in Saddiq Bey, a potential future energizer and electrifier in Isaiah Stewart. and what looks to be a potential superstar in Cade Cunningham. And that right there lends itself to a lot of excitement and a lot of hope for the future of this team. So let's play some basketball.
Let's play some basketball.
I was hoping you'd do it in the Mason voice, but hey.
If I could do a Mason voice, I would.
Oh, man. Anyways, guys, thank you for listening. We will catch you next week. Hope you enjoyed. Follow us on Twitter at Real Fan Report. Thank you, Detroit Sports Podcast, and thank you, Andrew, for joining me, and thank you guys as always. We will catch you guys next week. Go Pistons, go Wings, go Lions, go. Well, Tigers are done. So
and if you're at the if you're at LCA on Wednesday, well, you won't. It'll be too late. You won't be hearing it.
It would be, yes.
I was gonna say, look for the guy in the man bun and hopefully a Cade Cunningham jersey. I hope that'd be a specific enough combination.
Oh, you got a Cade jersey?
I said hopefully a Cade jersey.
Okay. All right. All right. Anyways, guys, this has been Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
4 fans.
We'll catch you guys later. Enjoy the week and enjoy the beginnings of the NBA season. We'll catch you later. Have a good one. Peace out.
Peace.